Welcome to New York Institute of Technology's podcast, The Scope. Produced by the College of Osteopathic Medicine, our episodes focus on the medical school experience and how it helps shape future physicians. Learn about exciting new health and wellness initiatives, cutting-edge medical research and technology, and how to effectively navigate medical school. We are excited to have you join us.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Scope podcast. My name is Jasmine Stewart, a third-year medical student and the SGA Executive President at the NYIT COM Arkansas campus, and I am pleased to be your host for today's podcast. Tonight, we are joined by an amazing panel of medical students, alumni, faculty, and the significant other of one of our medical student panelists, who will all share advice, helpful insights, and experiences related to dating and relationships during medical school. Please welcome from our New York campus, third-year medical student and SGA parliamentarian, Hannah English, second-year medical student, Isabel Lombardi, and her significant other, Tyler George, associate professor and chair of clinical specialties, Dr. Thomas Chan, an associate professor of family medicine, psychologist, and valued podcast committee member, Dr. Lisa Hoffman. And from our Arkansas campus, second-year medical student and valued podcast committee member, Arsh Seth, and assistant professor of clinical medicine and valued podcast committee member, Dr. Adrian Loftus. Thank you all for joining us today. So I want to open our conversation today with the question that's on everybody's mind. With all of the time constraints and responsibilities of being in med school, do you think it's possible to date? I'll pose this question to anyone. Hannah, would you like to answer?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So as someone who has been experiencing being single and in a relationship in medical school, I can say, yes, it is possible to date. I will say that it doesn't come without challenges, as I'm sure everyone can agree. But I think it's definitely possible. It's just about making sure you are sorting out your priorities, keeping your studies in mind, not getting distracted from those, and just knowing what you're looking for in a partner.
That's a great answer, Hannah. Very well balanced. Speaking of balance, what are some pros and cons of dating versus being single while in medical school? So I know you spoke on balance. Does anyone want to chime in and give some feedback on that?
Since I said how I was also single and in a relationship in medical school, I can just elaborate a little more on that. So I think that when I look back to when I was single, the pros definitely were that I was able to be a lot more focused on my study. You know, I didn't have this other person that I was keeping in mind while planning out my daily schedule. But there's definitely, I'd say, a lot of pros to being in a relationship where I have someone who I can always talk to when I've had a rough day or when I need a little encouragement. My partner is there to help boost my confidence.
Thank you for your answer, Hannah. Do any of our faculty members or alumni have any feedback they want to give on pros of being single versus dating in med school? Dr. Chan?
So I'm gonna kind of rephrase it a little bit in that I don't think with relationships, I don't think you can put it into a pro and con situation. I think really you start liking someone and you can't stop yourself pretty much, right? So it's like in life, it's just trying to make it work. So like Hannah said, I would agree, like just the companionship is very important and trying to stay balanced. It's an unbalanced life in medical school. So having someone you can go home to, you can talk to, that's really important. It can be very lonely studying for that long and just, watching videos for that long, I can imagine. And cons, yeah, it takes time to be in a relationship. You have to spend time and you feel guilty when you don't spend time with the person you care about. So it's really, like you mentioned, about balance, trying your best. It's always a good idea to date and try to find your special someone. You never know when they're going to come along in life.
Thank you, Dr. Chan. So speaking of, it just happens when we're interacting with folks and we just like someone that we like. We're in our med school class. So what are anyone's thoughts on, you like that fellow med student in your class and you're just like, they understand what I'm going through versus they had the mindset and they understand, it's easier to explain things. Like what's a point of view on dating someone in our medical school class? Go ahead, Arsh.
Yeah, I can speak to a little bit of that. I mean, a lot of my colleagues here in Arkansas are within relationships within the same class or, the classes above or below. And so I think it's definitely something that's doable. And I see a lot of, benefit in that because you are going with someone who is going to the same classes with you, same labs, and you are spending a lot of time together. And so there's that companionship in that earlier, as Dr. Chan mentioned. Again, it's the pro and con thing. So there is cons as well because now you're together all the time as well. And so, there's to each their own, I suppose. But I do see a lot of value if there's two people within the same class. I think there is value in that as well. So
thank you. Love the feedback, Harsh. Dr. Chan, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, so I'm going to give a different perspective as a faculty perspective, and we see you students becoming couples as the years, happen. And sometimes we wonder, are they a couple? They're with each other all the time. So I would say, I've seen a lot of very successful couples, some people I've kept in touch with. You do spend a lot of time together. You have a lot of commonalities. And so definitely. But the con is if you break up, you got to see each other all the time, especially if you're in the same group.
Thank you, Dr. Chan. That's great feedback. Well, while we're on that subject, I would like to pose the question to maybe the couple that we have on our call today. As a significant other, we can pose this to Tyler. You're the significant other of a fellow medical student. How do you strive to support Isabel best and maintain a healthy relationship between the both of you?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing for me has been just understanding what her schedule is going to be like, which she's going to be super busy, late night studyings, and seeing ways that I can help with that, whether it be spending some extra time cleaning, doing dishes, cooking dinner, anything like that. And then after she's done studying, we always try and spend some time together. So we'll pick a movie to watch or TV if it's an early night. Following some stressful exam weeks, we like to try and plan something for the weekend when it's a little more free and there's a little less studying, whether that be going out to a movie, seeing friends or family. Additionally, we like to go to the gym together every night as well as eat dinner. So it gives us some time to spend together. And also it's allowed me to put some more focus into my career and spend some time studying for my CFP outside of work, as she'll always be studying anyways. So it gives me some time to put some extra focus onto my work as well and help develop my career.
Thank you, Tyler. Isabel, you're very lucky. That sounds like a great partnership.
I feel very fortunate. We've been through all the milestones, high school, long distance college, and now we're here. So it's been good.
Love the growth together that you two are exhibiting tonight. So speaking of, I can pose this question to faculty or the staff that are on the call. When you were going into med school or before you even entered med school, or perhaps even after graduating, did you have the mindset of, I'm not going to date anyone in the medical field? Did you have that thought process and how did you work through that? Or what do you think about that saying? Yes, Dr. Loftus?
I did have kind of the mindset that while I was in medical school, I wouldn't date. So in particular, like not dating anyone in the field also. As I went forward, I've kind of wavered over the years as far as, what is ideal? Do I want to come home and talk to somebody that's actually in the field, or do I want to kind of leave work at work? It's kind of differed over the years, and I don't know if I have that one answer for that. I think that's going to differ for each person.
That's great feedback. Thank you. Hannah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to add along the lines of dating someone outside of the medical field. So my boyfriend, his mom is actually a doctor. And I think that is one thing that initially kind of brought us together. So he wasn't technically in the medical field, but he knew a lot about it. And he had a very close family member that he saw was going through the struggles of being a doctor. So I think that really helped him to understand, what I was going through and what I still am going through. What Dr. Loftus said is so true, that there's not one size fits all. There are, again, like we said, the pros and cons of dating someone within the medical field. They really understand you, or someone outside of it where you can come home and you can learn about something new. My boyfriend is an engineer, so I get to learn a little bit about what he does, and he gets to be excited about some of the things that I do that he thinks is really cool. So there are definitely good things and bad things.
Thank you for sharing, Hannah. Dr. Hoffman, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, sure. So piggybacking on what Dr. Loftus and Hannah were saying, again, the pros of two medical students dating one another while they're in school is that there's common shared personal and vocational goals, obviously, right? But the one thing that you have to be careful with is that you don't want to just talk about medicine all the time, right? You want to be able to go outside of that and talk about other shared hobbies or interests, or why you were attracted to one another in the first place, right? It's not just because you're in medical school. And I often hear from couples that are from students that are dating someone outside the medical field is that they love learning about their partner's additional hobbies and interests and vocation. And they often refer to it as it makes them feel sort of grounded so that they're not talking about medicine all the time. So there are definitely pros and cons. And as Dr. Chan said, you fall in love with whoever that person is, whether in medical school or not.
Thank you, Dr. Hoffman. That's amazing advice. Oh, Dr. Loftus, did you want to add to that?
It's definitely, I'll tell you this, it's definitely been over the years of dating. It's definitely been one of those things that though I want to meet someone outside of my field, it's also very difficult if they don't understand the field to explain everything that goes on and why this happens, or why I have to do a 24-hour call and why I have to miss this or that. These are definitely parts of those cons. However, I don't know that I would give up medicine just to be able to share some commonality with somebody either. So I like that.
Thank you for the feedback, Dr. Loftus. It sounds like what I hear you saying is communication is very important. So Dr. Chan, did you have anything to add?
That word Dr. Loftus mentioned, commonality. So I think a lot of medical students or you gravitate toward people in the medical field because there are a lot of commonalities, not just the profession, but just traits of why you became a doctor, right? Like good people, you want to help, and you're driven usually. So you see certain traits. So it's very natural to kind of find someone compatible at that time. Plus, you're spending a lot of time with them. So for me, I wouldn't say I looked for it. I was trying to, find someone in the medical field. It just happened. When my wife happens to be a doctor, I didn't look for it at all. And yeah, it came late in my medical school career. First 3 years were kind of not good relationship-wise. So it turned out all right at the end.
We love a good ending to a good story. So I really appreciate the speaking of communication commonalities outside of medicine. And I want to pose a question to Isabel. With your partner not in medicine, how is the communication as far as explaining things to him? Or do you feel like you have to talk to him about like what's happening, or really kind of like go into detail so that he can understand the time constraints that you have? Or how does that work for the two of you, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We're actually currently having this conversation because of rotations. I'll be entering my 3rd year in a few months, and I'll be at one specific hospital for the full year. So we were discussing moving and how we'll still want Tyler to be close to work, and then I'll have less of a commute as well to the hospital. So we're really working as a team, and I feel like that's what's most important in a relationship. I don't want him to have an hour drive. I don't want to have an hour drive. So that's been something, more recent that we've had to discuss. prior to that, the discussion of, I don't know exactly where I'm going to medical school, because we were together prior to matriculating. So that was a discussion. I might go across the country. And thankfully he moved out here with me. We're not originally from New York. So it's been really a blessing to have him move. It's been a great support system, but I think communication through everything's been key. You know, it's like boards are coming up. So these next 2 months, might not be able to go out for dinner every week or something like that. Things might have to change, but knowing also in July that I have a break. So something to look forward to.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing, Isabel. I'll pose this next one for Tyler. And the question that I have for you, there's going to be some listeners on here who just want to listen in support of their significant other, and they are not medical students. So what advice, or in your opinion, what can these people do to help their fellow spouse or partner through medical school when it comes to the ups and downs that we all have?
Yeah, so in terms of helping everyone through the ups and downs, I guess the one main thing is I'm never going to really understand what exactly she's learning, no matter how much she tells me. Like, I'm never going to fully understand everything. But I can understand how much work it's going to be, and I can see how much effort she's putting into it. So I just want to support her every day, make her feel like she's doing a great job. And if there ever are any challenges, help work her through that, or at least be an ear that she can talk to and at least voice her concerns or just vent to me. Additionally, trying to just do whatever I can to help her outside of medical school. So, for example, as she mentioned, we'll be moving a little bit closer to her hospital. So trying to help in any way that I can, as I know that her life is super stressful right now and she is very busy. So I just want to be there to support her in every way that I can and help voice my opinions with everything and make sure that she knows that it will all be worth it and that she is doing a great job and that there is light at the end of the tunnel here.
That's great. Thank you so much for that feedback, Tyler. The next topic that I want to talk about when it comes to dating, relationships in general in medical school is time management. We all know that time is a very valuable resource for us as medical students. So my next question would be, do you think that limiting your friendships or being single or staying single to free up more of your time to study, is that the best way to maintain that focus? Why or why not? And anyone can answer this question. Sure, Arsh, go ahead.
I can start this one off. Even if you're single, for example, you're still going to have to de-stress and be by yourself at certain points of the time anyway. You know, you can't really study 24/7 all the time. And vice versa, if you're in a relationship, you're going to have to be able to make time and commitment for your partner as well. So I think the bottom line really comes down to being able to compartmentalize your school life and your personal life. And I think if you can successfully do that with good boundaries, with, you know, personal commitments, I think you can really make it work. And so I think it just is on the person. And that being said, if you're single, again, I think you're supposed to do that anyway with your own self-care as well. So that sort of makes up for that.
Thank you, Arsh. That's great feedback. Isabel?
I also think that whether you're single or in a relationship, like the friendships that you maintain are also really important. So I definitely think that, you know, studying is one of our top priorities, but maintaining friendships and staying close with your family is also really important. I think finding time, you know, whether it's after an exam, or even if you have like scheduled FaceTimes or just something to de-stress, whether you're in a relationship or not, with those people you care about, it's like vital. Otherwise, we're stuck looking at an iPad or a computer screen for like 10 to 12 hours a day, and it can become really lonely. You don't want to get rid of that. You want to maintain that as much as you can.
Thank you for the feedback, Isabel. Hannah, did you want to speak on this?
I think Dr. Chan said earlier too is really important to keep in mind, and it's about the grounding of a relationship. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. You know, your friendships, your family, your significant other, those relationships help you to see beyond school and beyond our responsibilities at school, because at the end of the day, sometimes a lot of us need to take a second and be like, okay, I am so stressed out. I am so focused on this. And it's just school or it's just a job. You know, you can go and you can have relationships outside of medical school that help you to de-stress from it and keep you a real person. You know, you can still live your life. And I think those relationships are so important. Like Isabel was saying, you know, you have to have those things outside of school to really de-stress.
Thank you so it sounds like we've got the student feedback. I'd love to get Dr. Hoffman's feedback.
Well, you know, I was going to say something as a psychologist at NYIT Com, part of the Center for Behavioral Health. It's so refreshing to hear you guys talk like this because we do seminars and we talk about this all the time about how breaks are important and how it is crucial to have a work-life balance. And I often hear from many, many of you, you know, that you feel guilty about taking breaks, about socializing. And it is so important to take those breaks and to socialize and to vent, to laugh, just to have some fun. It is not going to make or break you. In fact, it's going to make you more productive and more focused. It is so crucial to your overall mental health, which you know is directly related to physical health. It's a win-win. If you're thinking about taking a break, especially if it involves friends or a loved one, do it. So important.
Vital feedback. You guys hear it first from Dr. Hoffman. Thank you so much. So the next thing I wanted to talk about in line with time management. So let's just say for those students who are looking for a relationship in medical school, for those who are trying to find something or friendship or even dating, does anyone on the call have any advice on ways to help meet someone while they're in med school? Sure, Dr. Chan.
So I don't know if it's about specifically finding a relationship, but you're more likely to find a relationship if you meet a lot of people, right? So I say, you know, all those human skills that you know are in you, use them. Talk to people. Go sit with someone new at lunch. Find different people to just chat with. Say hello to people when you pass them in the hallway. Just normal human interactions. You'd be surprised at how many more people you meet. And then every once in a while, you have a spark or someone knows someone and thinks you have make a good match. Sometimes the harder you look, you don't find anyone. And then when you're not looking at all, you're like, forget it. I don't want anything to do with anyone. I'm so busy. Board study time comes and then something magical happens and lightning strikes and you're derailed.
Dr. Chan is like a total romantic. I love it.
Right. I love how he said, as soon as board study starts, that's when we get distracted. Dr. Loftus, did you want to add anything to that question?
Yes, on top of what Dr. Chan was saying, like it's not about the look. And as someone who was single all throughout medical school and is single even now, one of the things that I know that's happening is people are dating online. Social media plays a lot into dating right now. And I would tell anyone to definitely don't necessarily disengage from social media, but also remember that you're entering into a professional world. So what you're doing on social media when it comes to like dating apps and other things on social media, definitely be careful out there. Be careful about what you're displaying for any kind of social media, such as pictures and information you're putting out there. And I don't mean that just in the naughty. I mean that also in the realm of professionalism, because their next step is residency. And residencies can definitely sometimes go out and look at your social media. You can look on Facebook. So if you're in Facebook groups and things like that, you want to definitely be careful. Just be careful for you. So you don't want to get into something that you can't back out of or display something that somebody wants to be a part of for the wrong reasons.
That's very sound and very great advice, Dr. Loftus. Sometimes we don't take a look and think about the other aspect on the side of the dating apps. So thank you for sharing that for all of us out there who are utilizing those. As stressful as that may have sounded with residencies looking at all of our social media, that brings me to the perfect transition of moving into potential stresses and how we manage that in the dating realm. So what are some of the stresses that a medical student may experience that are related to being in a relationship during this intense time of studying? And this question is posed for anyone. Yes, Hannah?
I think one major thing that we've all sort of touched on is how we will be spending so much time studying. And I loved what Tyler was saying because I see those same things in my own significant other, helping me with making food, with doing laundry, with doing things that just help to take away those other stressors in my life so that I can focus on studying. One major point, though, I want to make about relationships, and this is from the perspective of the med student, being a good and supportive partner is really prioritizing communication with your partner and letting them know when you won't be available, when you are blocking off time to study, when you're going to have a very busy week. That is probably the most important thing that I could give to couples, going through medical school is do not be afraid of over communicating, because I think it would only help the relationship. It's so important to make sure your partner understands like when you won't be there, but just knowing that when you promise you will be there, you're showing up for those things. Communication is the most important thing.
That's fantastic feedback. Dr. Hoffman, would you like to add?
Sure, I wanted to just add on to what Hannah was just saying. I think in terms of communications, what she was talking about also was setting up clear expectations. What are your expectations vocationally? When will you not be available? But equally important, when will you be available? Intentionally carve out time to have romance, to meet with each other, to have open communication. Pencil that time in too. That's important.
Thank you, Dr. Hoffman. That's fantastic advice. Dr. Loftus, did you want to add?
Yes, on top of what Dr. Hoffman was just saying and what Hannah said, I've told students in the past, not told, but recommended to actually married couples who are entering into medical school or they're dating, but actually to maybe go forth and have intentional date nights. So setting up intentional time where you have a date night, maybe it could be every 2 weeks or every week or every 4 weeks, whatever y'all think that works in your schedule. But actually that intentionality is something I think works well for many couples that are going through medical school.
That's actually really great advice. And I know as the host, I want to throw in a little bit of my experience as well. And as a third-year medical student in rural Arkansas, my partner and I did not match in the same location together, so we're 5 hours apart. And so what we've done for the past 8 months is we've seen each other every single month, and we've made a plan and we've made it happen and we've executed that plan. And so we haven't gone forever without seeing each other, but we also were intentional about our schedules and making sure that if we did have to get together and just study and do year world questions, that we were still able to do that together. So that's also how to manage that for those of you listening who end up getting separated or who have to manage a long distance relationship with a fellow medical student. So thank you all for answering those questions. I do want to talk about the feelings part of it because I want to be honest here. When we're in our relationships, nothing's ever 100% perfect. And I know we've probably made mistakes one time or another, whether it be with communicating or maybe we couldn't make that date night. What did that look like as far as coping with the feelings of the stress or the little tiff that you might have with your partner? I'd love also to get Dr. Hoffman's her recommendation on that as well after we hear from anyone else. So Isabel, did you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I think that even though Tyler and I try and be very intentional with either a date night or cooking dinner together, just like everyone's mentioned before, I think communication and intention is really important. But as we all know, as medical students, it doesn't always go perfectly as planned. So I think that sometimes I initially get stressed because I'm stressed about school. And then if I miss something that maybe we had planned or we have to reschedule, I'll feel like guilty. It's like a guilt feeling I often have. But I've found that just being honest and upfront as soon as possible is the best way to go about it. And then, moving forward together. So finding a new date to do something that maybe we had planned. There will be road bumps, as you mentioned, Jasmine, nothing's perfect, but I think that being honest as possible and upfront as soon as you know that something's changed is the best way to go about it to ease your stress, my own stress personally, and then also making sure that Tyler's like on the same page as me.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Isabel. Dr. Hoffman?
So yeah, I love what Isabel said about being honest. I mean, that's the number one thing, is to give each other the space, the open communication to be honest and to tell your partner how you're truly feeling. Don't hold it in. Don't feel guilty. I mean, in any relationship, whether within the medical field or not, there's going to be resentment. There's going to be anger. Think of your own relationships, everyone on this podcast, right? I mean, we're all human. We all have these feelings. So I think it's really important just to give each other that opportunity and say, we need to talk, we need to sit down, this is how I've been feeling. And just listening. Let the other partner vent and listen. If need be, apologize, be honest.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Hoffman. That's a great perspective. Arsh, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was also going to add, it's easy to be frustrated, easy to get frustrated. One thing that I've learned dating my girlfriend, who's a medical student as well, I think I've learned to have grace for myself, for her. And I think it just comes down to being understanding for each other. And I think realistically, for us, at least, it's working as a team. And, if you keep love and sort of compassion at the center of the relationship, then I think you're able to make it through whatever happens.
That's perfect. Thank you, Arsh. Dr. Chan, did you want to add?
Yeah, so it's obviously a very difficult time to date, right? In medical school, you're trying to find your life partner, and there's nothing like going through something hard together. And when that happens, you get to a deeper level. And if you can't get to a deeper level, you have your answer. That's not the person for you. Because if you can't communicate now, and you can't be understanding with each other or giving to each other or generous, it's not going to happen in marriage over how many years. So you have your answer. So sometimes going through this crucible of medical school with someone special, it could be a blessing in disguise if you make it.
If we make it. Dr. Chan, those are great words. And I think a perfect positive way to view relationships and dating while in medical school. It doesn't have to be all, I don't have time, or this is too stressful. There are definitely a lot of positive and unique views that you all have shared with us today. So what a great conversation that we've had. I want to thank our guests for sharing their insights, advice, and personal experiences with our listeners. Clearly, dating and relationships during medical school can be filled with their own unique challenges. But as seen from our conversation today, if we focus our efforts on teamwork, maintaining a required activity schedule, making the most of our available time, offering understanding and patience along with compassion to both yourself and your partner, and also, let's throw in identifying creative solutions, it is absolutely possible to enjoy relationships during medical school. An important key to success is to identify a positive balance that allows you to succeed in both your academic studies and your relationships. Thank you for joining us today.